part of the Another Realm Media Network. Welcome to this episode of Mysterial Experiences, where we delve into the heart of mystery and the ethereal. Today we invite you on a voyage through shadowed realms of the unexplained. From spectral whispers to cosmic enigmas. Join us as we explore tales and phenomena that challenge our understanding of reality, in a quest to uncover truths hidden in the fabric of the extraordinary. Prepare for a journey into the unknown, where each revelation is a step closer to unraveling the mysterial. Welcome back, everybody. We are sitting here today with the fantastic Sev Tok. And I really appreciate her willingness to come on the show today and just talk with us about her experiences and what they've meant to her. So thank you, Sev, and welcome.
Hi, Josh. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So I gave a little bit of an introduction before we got into the interview portion. And so, I am a huge fan, although we were just discussing, I'd never actually met you in person. We were in the same room in Denver for the MUFON Symposium in 2022. But I never actually met you in person, and I honestly get a little bit of a fan frightening. Like, I don't want to just walk up and talk to people because I feel like I'm bothering them and stuff. But I really appreciate everything that you said and did in that MUFON Symposium, and everything that you've talked about in your many appearances on TV and such. And so, one of the things that I started this podcast trying to accomplish is to let people know that we all have these really just odd experiences with, what the mainstream might consider strange, and that the only way we can lift the taboo is to talk about them openly. And so I know that you don't shy away from talking about your own experiences. And so if you would just take maybe a couple minutes and just kind of, I know your experiences go back a long way in your life, but, maybe if you want to give an elevator speech, so to speak, of how you kind of found yourself.
Okay, thank you. That's a good way to put it, how I found myself, because that is what it feels like. I've only came out 5 years ago. And so I've been having contact since I was a little girl, since fifth grade.
Mm.
And I've been hiding it all those years until 5 years ago.
Mm.
And I've had contact with a variety of different beings, and it was just my secret. I could have told my parents because they were believers, but I didn't. I don't know why, but I never did. And I just held on to that secret. And I'm here to tell experiencers, when you hold on to that, it affects every area of your life, and not positively, because you're not living your authentic life, and you're in denial about something that happened to you, which is very important, which should not be ignored. But society wants us to ignore it. But I'm saying, please don't ignore it. There's a reason you had ET contact. So what's the reason? So I'm here to help you figure that out. But to briefly tell you a little bit about myself, my first conscious memories of ET contact started when I was 10 years old. And they continued for 2 years. And I was frequently visited by this being that would come at night. I would find myself standing outside on grass. And I would look up and I would see this spaceship coming. And this went on for 2 years, from the age of 10 to 12. And each time the spaceship would come from a different direction. And it came so many times that I lost count. And each time I'd be so happy to see it. I'm like, yay, like my space brother is coming. I was so happy. And the ship would come and hover over me, and it would just block out the sky. And then it would land. And then stairs would descend, and a being would come down. And he was very similar to a human. He was male, young, like 20s or 30s, dark hair, dark outfit.
Hmm.
And the only difference really was his ears. They were just slightly elongated, but nothing like Spock.
Hmm.
And I wasn't into Star Trek back then. Uh, and he was just checking up on me. He was making sure I was okay. So this went on for a couple of years. And after each visit, I would ding, pop back into my bedroom. And that's what it feels like after ET contact when you just dropped back into 3D reality and
Hmm.
you're just wide awake. There's no grogginess. You're like, boing, I'm awake, and what just happened? And so in fifth grade, when I would find myself awake in my room, I would be so confused um, because how I felt in my bedroom didn't feel as real
Hmm.
as how I felt when I was with that my space brother. That felt real. This felt fake. And so then I just would tell myself, okay, forget about it, get dressed. It's time to go to fifth grade and try and be normal. And so I tried to be normal for decades. And that's really hard. And it affected me negatively. It will affect you negatively. And so that's why I offer help to experiencers so they can get it out and they can process what they learned. And we're also given really important information. And this information is beautiful information that we can use to help align ourselves with our purpose and to find fulfillment. And so I help experiencers see the benefits of their
Hmm.
ET contact because in the beginning sometimes you can't see the benefits. I couldn't see the benefits when I was afraid of the grays. So I wasn't afraid of this one particular being, but I was afraid of the grays for decades up until 2018. Really, I was afraid of the grays. And I've had many experiences with the grays where they gave me a lot of information. And then in 2017, when I moved here to North Carolina, I had contact with the grays and they burned two red X marks into my tush.
Hmm.
This is the X mark.
Oh, wow.
So September 17th, this was on my left cheek, and 9 days later, there was another one just like it on my right cheek. And that set me spinning. That set me spinning. I had an existential crisis with that second X because then I realized, oh my God, these are not dreams.
Yeah.
Dreams do not put two red X's on your tush.
Yeah. The first one, you were like, maybe I sat on something, I had a grid pattern, maybe, but yeah, the
But what would
second
that
was,
be? But
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so I just tried to ignore it because I've been ignoring. I've had so many marks on my body, as many experiences do, geometric shapes,
Mhm.
bruises that are unexplainable. And I would just try and explain them away. Lights on in the hallway in the middle of the night. I could feel beings touching me, beings on the bed. And there's also a crossover, between the ET world and the supernatural world.
For
They're
sure. Yeah.
all, yes, they're all tangled together. And I call it the playground of the consciousness. And when we enter that playground, in that playground of consciousness, we meet all the
Mhm.
other entities that are also exploring consciousness.
Right.
And so we will meet all the entities, whether they're ETs, spirit guides, dead people, they're all there and we're all playing in that same
Mhm.
playground. And that's why often someone who has ET contact then all of a sudden starts seeing orbs or starts feeling angelic beings and vice
Mhm.
versa.
Yeah. Something that came, for just a moment, I'll say something that came to me a couple of years ago was that the astral plane is kind of like a train station where there are constantly things, beings, entities coming and going to various places. And so when astral project, or, sometimes I wonder if all ET contact is a projection of the astral body, spiritual body, whatever you want to say, but the body makes it real, right? There's the line from the Matrix where Neo gets punched or whatever in the Matrix and his body hurts, and it's because the mind makes it real for the body because it can't distinguish between what you experienced in an astral projection state versus what your body physically experienced. And so I wondered if a lot of ET contact that people, talk about it. And they say, well, but I put a piece of tape across my door and it was still there the next day, so it must have been something else. But maybe you left, but your body didn't leave.
That's
So
right.
yeah,
Your consciousness left. Yes.
right,
Or other aspects of you.
right,
Yes, that's a very good point. It's not just in 3D. So it doesn't happen just when you're driving on a lonely road or when you're camping. This is a reason millions of people are having ET contact, but many of them don't even know it
mhm,
because most of it happens in that hazy, dreamy
right,
state, this multidimensional state, and that we don't really have a word for it other than a dream, but these are
right,
not dreams. Dreams don't put X marks on my tush. So
right.
I have learned I can tell the difference between a real event, a multidimensional, interdimensional
Mhm.
event, and just a so-called little dream. They're completely different.
Usually in my experience, if I wake up remembering all aspects of whatever the dream was, including smells and tastes and touches, then I have had something more than just a dream.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Feelings. So when you think of a dream that you might have had when you're 7 years old, can you even think of a dream that you had at 7 years old? Probably not.
No.
But if you've had an experience, an ET contact at
Mhm.
7, you feel that all over again.
Right.
It's not the same thing as, oh, I think I had this dream when I was 7 years old. This is like it all comes rushing back, and that's a sign. You're absolutely
Mhm.
right. Because dreams, you don't feel just a simple little dream, all those feelings don't come back.
Right. The other thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is how the body is a machine. It's a biological machine, and at night, because a lot of these things tend to happen at night, and so at night, the body is shutting down. It's going into like repair mode, sleep and repair mode, and so in those states, the mind doesn't have to focus on keeping the body running, right?
That's right.
And then it can take all of that energy that it was keeping the
Right.
body running, and it can then go off and do other things and interact with other beings and etc. So,
Yeah, it's almost like astral travel, if any of your viewers or listeners do
yeah.
astral travel, or when you meditate and then you go off somewhere and you come back, it's like that. Yes, you're absolutely right. Although ET contact does happen when you're wide awake. It's happened to me in the middle
Mhm.
of the day when I'm wide awake, but it does tend to happen at night because we're not concerned about making sure that we're taking
Yeah.
care of the body. You're absolutely right.
Well, and it's really funny too when you think about it. Most of us, although we just made the statement, you don't have to worry about making sure the body is doing the body thing, but most of us go throughout the day and don't think about the fact that our body is still breathing, the heart is still pumping, the liver's still doing what it's doing. So those are almost really unconscious activities that we're doing. So I think probably the only thing that prevents us from having deeper experiences at all times is just an awareness that we have put a restraint on ourselves, that it has to be during a certain situation. It has to be when I meditate, or it has to be when I sit down to astral travel, or it has to be while I'm sleeping. That we've put this requirement in place that is a false requirement.
That's true. That's such a good point. Such a good point. Well, some of us can be in two places at once. We can be aware of our bodies, but have our consciousness somewhere else. We can do that. But some of us can't. Oh, actually, all of us can do that. But
Yeah.
some of us don't realize we can do that.
Right.
So, in order to have that experience in another dimension, this body does have to kind of shut down. Sleep paralysis, sometimes
Right.
that's all sleep paralysis is your awareness is really in the multi dimensions. It's
Mhm.
not really concerned with your body. And as you're starting to come back to awareness of your body, there's like this intermediary stage
Mhm.
where you're still over there, but you're still trying to come back to your body. And so your body feels paralyzed because you're not quite in your body
Right.
yet.
Yeah, the other thing that I've really been, we'll get on to talk about experiences in just a moment, but the thing I've really been thinking about lately is that you yourself, the thing that makes you you, doesn't really inhabit the body. It has a connection, like a pilot has a connection with an airplane, right? And so it navigates the body, but the you that makes you you sits in another realm of existence, another plane, another dimension, whatever the terminology is that you want to use. And so when you have those out of body experiences, like you said, all you're doing is basically taking your hands off the controls, and you're shifting your awareness away from the body suit that you've been piloting, and instead shifting it somewhere else, either maybe to another lifetime that your consciousness is already, inhabiting and taking place and piloting. And so you're experiencing those other lifetimes as dreams. You anticipate or interpret them as dreams. I had a crazy dream the other night where I was a police officer in London. Well, maybe you were a police officer in London and you just experienced that other aspect of yourself. So
Yeah.
it's when I got to the point of realizing that it's all just a matter of shifting attentions between what I want to experience, it
Mhm.
made a significant change in how I approached everything from meditation to astral work to my own ET experiences. So,
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's where is your focus? So right now our focus is right here in this consciousness I call Sev, but sometimes my focus is somewhere else.
yeah.
And we can do that while we're washing the dishes. I mean, we don't have to be asleep or we don't have to be in a meditative state. We can
Hmm.
really, the goal is to be connected at all times, not having to go into a meditative state
Hmm.
to feel like you're connected to the other dimensions, to get information from the other dimensions can come when you're wide awake washing the dishes.
Yeah, I mean, well, people say it. I think many years, people say I would zone out. I'd zone out when I was washing the dishes. The next thing you know, I'm thinking about whatever it is, and it's that zone out activity that's removing your awareness from the activity of washing the dishes to the activity of thinking about the book you're going to write or the next TV show you're going to watch or whatever the case would be.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Anyways, um, so I did want to ask you because I know so you just mentioned the experiences you had starting at 10 through around 12. Did those kind of drop off for you at a certain point, or have they continued throughout your adult life, or kind of how has that happened or changed for you?
The ET contact continued my whole entire life, but for most, I would say from 12 on through college and into even my 40s, I was having contact, but I'm more interested in, sorry about that. I was more, I was more interested in the paranormal and supernatural.
Mm,
And so my focus was going more there than ET because I had this subconscious fear of the grays, and I was
mm,
having a lot of activity with the grays, but a part of me just wanted to cut that off. And I'm like, let me just
mhm,
go into the supernatural. So I had tons of supernatural paranormal, like tons. And the ET stuff didn't start back up until 2011, 2012, something like that, after my second divorce. And
mm,
I moved into this really cool apartment that was kind of secluded. And it started there. And
mhm,
then it's just kept going full speed ahead until now. It's still happening. I'm still getting weird geometric shapes on my body and stuff
mhm.
like that.
Wow. So obviously I don't know, maybe it's not obvious. To me it seems obvious, but you've processed through what these experiences mean to you. Um, I can say that when I first sat down to really acknowledge the things that I was starting to recall from my childhood and to process what they meant for me now, um, my immediate reaction was, "Am I going crazy?" And then second question was, "Is my wife going to leave me because I think I'm going crazy?" And so I'm just curious, how you dealt with processing all of this kind of stuff that's happening to you, and how do you come down on it now that you've kind of acknowledged what it is?
How do I come down on it now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely see it as very beneficial. And I'm very glad that I've decided to focus on it
Mhm,
and to investigate it and to help others who are having the same experience. As far as what you said about is my wife going to leave me? Yeah, yeah. That is a worry with a lot of experiencers. So the most important thing is to come out to yourself first. That's the most
mhm,
important thing. And I can help you do that. If you want to contact me, this is what I do. I help experiencers around the world. You can go to my website, planetsev.com, or you can email me, sev@planetsev.com. And I offer help and I also offer private consultations.
mhm,
I also do soul purpose readings if anyone's interested in that too. You can get information about that on my website. Um, so I was a kid when I had my first experience. When I started having my ET contact, I had left my second husband, so I was alone.
mhm,
But when I got the two X's on my back that changed my life, I had a partner at that time, and I was very concerned about what was going to happen when I told him.
mhm,
Uh, I had to tell him because he's the one that found the first X.
mhm,
And he was stunned. He was shocked. And we're not together anymore. He's very, very, very logical,
mhm,
but he was very supportive, very helpful. I'm very grateful for his support.
mhm,
Uh, and then and then about a year later, I started dating someone else, and that recently ended. And he
mhm,
was also very supportive. And so, luckily, if there's such thing as luck, I've been with two men that I can't say they 100% believed, but they didn't
mhm,
100% disbelieve. And they knew me to be a true, honest person. And one of them saw the X's,
mhm,
and the other one um, knows that what I experienced is true. He
mhm,
also had some interesting experiences at my house too. But that is an issue. And so, uh, first, come out to yourself, then come out to someone like me. Do not come out to family members or friends. If you think you're going to get judgment,
mhm.
do not do it. It's really the worst thing you could do. It's going to set you back.
Well, and I think where I am now, for almost 5 years into my own kind of understanding of my past experiences. I recently, well, I'll say that I stopped hiding who I was on social media, and my family, my parents, my uncles, everybody, they're all friends with me on social media, and so that was my way of coming out to family, so to speak. Now I have selectively um, talked to other family members who are closer and cherry picked the things that I wanted to say or try to derive from them that would, I think, help influence my growth. Um, but that's only after I have spent, years working with uh, my own acknowledgement of it, like you said, coming out to myself first, um, close friends who have had similar experiences, others in the community have had similar experiences, and then lastly, closer family members who turns out have had similar experiences. So
Mhm.
um, it's just, so I think the one thing I would say is I assumed, especially based on some of their belief systems from when I was younger, I assumed that the conversations would go poorly. And I was surprised to find that they didn't. Now, I know that's not the case for everybody who's an experiencer, but just, in my own cases, I found that after I had prepared myself to understand what it really was that I was I seeking their approval? Was I seeking their forgiveness? Or was I really just seeking to understand some aspect of myself that only they could provide an answer to? And once I made that realization in my own journey, then it wasn't a matter of do they believe me or do they respect me? It was a matter of I need to understand some part of myself that they can best shed some light on. And so then it just
Mm.
became an information gathering conversation, basically.
Wow, that's wonderful. I wish more people could have that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I know it's not the norm. I've talked to many people who it's not the norm, but
Mm.
it's, so many people that I visited trying to understand what this was for me um, kept saying the same thing. The resounding message was trust yourself. And when I finally did that, when I finally trusted that where I felt and where I was in my understanding of this phenomena, that's when I no longer really worried about anybody else and whether or not they believed me or not, because I know what I experienced and I know what it means to me. So,
Yes, and that's a great point, but sometimes it takes a while to get there.
mhm.
It takes a while to
Oh
get
yeah.
there. You need a lot of validation sometimes in the beginning. And that's why it's really nice to, uh, if you can, if you're interested in joining a support group, it's really
Mhm.
easy to find support groups these days, but be careful, just be careful.
Yeah.
You can find support. And it's just so complicated. The whole issue of coming out as an experiencer is
Mhm.
a complicated process
It
because you're
is.
battles within you. There's battles between you, your family members, and your friends, and battles with society. But how am I gonna? Do I even want to admit this? And that's
Mhm.
what's so sad because we're having experiences that are absolutely fantastic and important. The most important experiences I think we can have as a human being, and we're told to shut up. And that's
Mhm.
a shame. And so I'm saying, no, we don't have to shut up. For those of us who feel comfortable coming out, let's do it. If you don't feel comfortable, then just come out to yourself.
Right.
Coming out to yourself is going to change your frequency and your vibration.
Mhm.
That's going to change your reality. Just that first step right there.
Right. For sure. I mean, and that's I think when I've talked to people who have had experiences who are scared about what it means for them, they look at people who their experience has had a profound impact on their life. Um, I grew up in a Christian church environment, and so a lot of the way that I look at experience is sometimes colored through a spiritual lens. But I would say that there are some people who have had experiences that view those experiences as a spiritual transformation.
Oh,
And
yeah.
once they have that understanding and
Yeah.
awareness of themselves post experience, they do amazing, miraculous things in the way of manifesting what they want in life, etc.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah.
But but that's not for everybody. And for the person who has a profound spiritual experience, there is also the person who just has a personal acknowledgement that I'm not crazy and this thing happened and I'm okay and I'm safe and there's something to be learned from it. And I just need to figure out what that something is.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has something to learn from their ET contact because we're given information. Most experiencers are telepathically given information. And from all the thousands of experiencers I've interviewed around the world, there seems to be five major topics of information that we're given. We're given information that's scientific innovation. We're giving information about the hybridization program. We're given information about the future fate of Earth
Mhm.
and humans. We're also giving information about self-empowerment, spiritual awareness, how we're all one.
Mhm.
And we're also given information on how to strengthen our psi or psychic abilities.
Mhm.
hmm And so the government's interested in the information some experiencers get. So we're debriefed in MILABs or military
Mhm.
abductions, which you've heard about, which I've had a few of those. A couple of them are neutral and a couple of them are not neutral. They're very bad.
Mhm.
So I do believe that some of us are debriefed because I was asked for scientific information. They wanted to get from me. Evidently, I knew information about they showed me I had a MILAB experience, a conscious MILAB experience, where I'm like in this office under the ground with these military type men, and I'm standing in front of this poster, right? I drew a picture of it, and the poster shows the flight path of a UFO. And there's all these scientific equations. And this military man standing next to me, and they always look the same, like they're in their 20s and 30s, and they all wear like the same, like drab colored clothing, short hair. And he said to me, "When does the saucer attain the K point?" And then that's all I remember. Ding, I'm like back in my room. And I have a biology pre-med degree actually from Loyola, and I didn't remember the K point. I probably studied it, but I didn't remember it. So I looked it up, and it's a real thing, and it's kind of complicated to understand. But I heard when I was watching the Winter Olympics, and that sport where they ski up and then they go in the air and then they land down. What is that, a ski jump? What is that?
Yeah, it is a ski jump.
I love that one. But anyway, the commentator in that talked about the K point that that skier was going to attain, and it seems like the K point. I think the K point was like the point where they landed. I think. Mm-hmm. And so, other than this scientific information, we're given beautiful spiritual information. There's one experience where many experiencers, their lives have changed. There's one in particular. She lives in Hawaii. Also, another thing that happens is that people become very creative. They might become painters and musicians and things. So she started painting these beautiful paintings. And she had an experience where she was with these ETs, and they told her that pretty much her life is a reflection of her mind, and that she will have the life that she believes she will have. And just that one statement right there completely changed her mind. She focused on that information so much that she found the courage to leave her abusive husband. That's how profound these experiences can be. And that's the point of these experiences, to be profound, to help us individually, so then we can collectively raise our frequency and get out of this disastrous mess that we've brought ourselves into.
You know, it's funny. I started working on collecting people's experiences with the whole range of the phenomena, whether it be, like you said, paranormal or spiritual or UFO or Bigfoot or, you know, whatever, leprechauns, fairies, the whole kit and caboodle. And so far, what I have found is that for the vast majority of them, they had a profound experience at a moment in their life when they needed it most. When they were trying to make a decision on whether to move or leave their spouse or go to college or have kids or any number of things. But they had those experiences during a profound time in their life when, almost like if they were on a path, they were going to shift their track a little bit onto a different path. And so also, the ones who kind of followed whatever the experience they felt was leading them to have had fewer and fewer experiences. And so I started looking at the experiences maybe like a guidepost. And so you're walking along in the path of life, and you've found that you've gotten off on the wrong path. And so you have an experience that pushes you back over onto the path you're supposed to be on. As long as you're journeying on that path, though, your experiences drop off, because there's no reason to continue to give you guideposts if you're already on the path you're supposed to be on. And so, I can personally say that that's been my experience, is that once I found where I'm supposed to be, the experiences, I would say, it not so much dropped off, but they've become different. Like, I haven't seen with my eyes, UFOs in a couple of years, but I've had channeling experiences, and I've had
that's what happens.
More profound experiences.
Yes, you're still connected, but you don't need the 3D aspect of it anymore. You're communicating through the dimensions.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And they're always there. If you want to communicate some more and get some more information, you can communicate with a variety of beings. There's an unlimited amount of beings we can communicate with, and an unlimited amount of forms. Some don't even have a form. They're just like a floating consciousness.
yeah, I had a I don't know if it was a dream, maybe it wasn't, but one night that I went to a bar in the astral plane. Um, and there were all these, it was kind of like a cantina scene from Star Wars, although none of the characters looked like any of the characters from Star Wars. Um, but I had been in contact with, I don't know, to this day, I don't know if the person who was emailing me was a person, if they were an entity, if they were catfishing me. I have no idea. But their last message that they sent before they signed off, and we haven't spoken since, was that they had been captured. They were writing to me as a person who was a part of an underground war here on Earth, and they had been captured and didn't know if they would be able to correspond anymore. In their last letter, though, they said that they would appear to me as an elephant. Um, so when I moved here in Arizona in June of 22, I walked out to get the mail, and an overhead cloud shape was that of Babar the elephant. That night is when they had the dream of going to this bar in the astral plane, and there was an elephant man sitting at the bar in the astral plane. And so, regardless of if that was my consciousness creating that scenario for me or if it actually occurred, for me, it was profound, and it let me know that I was on the right path.
Yes. You really understand the nuances of ET contact. You understand the nuances of experiencers. You really do.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a very interesting journey over the last 4 years, 5 years almost, since it all started for me in right before I started doing another podcast with a really good friend of mine. I had a dream that felt like a memory, a repressed memory. And in that dream memory, I was standing in a front field at my grandparents' farm. A craft hovered above me, and a figure was holding my hand. And it turned and it looked down at me, and I didn't see its face. It was just like a starry field as its head. I couldn't see anything, any facial features. And it said to me, Josh, you're a hybrid, and we've got plans for you. And I woke from this dream, and that moment started. I then started doing the podcast. I've met, interviewed a number of different people for the podcast. I've read numbers of books, of documentaries, and everything else. And that has led me for this thirst of wanting to understand the phenomena being not lights in the sky and UFOs and ghosts and everything, but the phenomena being the human aspect of those interactions and what it means. Because I never hear of anybody saying, yep, I was abducted and I went to another room and there were dogs on the table, or cats, or goats, or sheep, or octopuses. Never heard of anybody talk about an abduction experience or anything where there was anything other than people. So there is a human.
Hey, I have one for you.
Okay.
I don't want to cut you off though, because
no, I just was going to say that there's a human element to these experiences.
Yes. Yes.
But
Also,
I'm interested to hear about the
just going back to what you had said about that star being or that light being telling you that you're a hybrid. The last time I saw that my space brother, I call him, was when I was 12 years old. And in that particular incident or experience, that was very different than all the others, because this time I was with a group of other kids. And all my other experiences with him, it was always just the two of us. So this time we're lined up, and I don't remember their faces, but we're about the same height. So I assume we're about the same age. And we're watching this spaceship fly away, and we're really, really sad, very sad, because we knew we weren't going to see him again. And in my head, I heard, get to work. You have work to do. You have a job to do. And so, ding, I come back to my bedroom. I'm 12 years old. And what does that mean? Get to work, do your job. That didn't mean anything to me at the time. Now it's starting to make sense. But at the time, I had no idea what that meant. And so it's interesting that we're told this as children. Subconsciously, we might not understand it, but subconsciously, what is it doing to us? How is it changing us? How is it leading us?
Well, and what, maybe, sorry, I'm getting over COVID. Maybe as kids, we're more susceptible. Not susceptible, that's the wrong word. We're more, we're easier to take at face value the things that are presented to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then later as adults, we now possess the cognitive ability to process what those face value moments were. So they sit dormant in us, waiting for the day that we awaken and are ready to claim that which is ours and that which is we are here to perform.
Yes. Oh, you said that so well. And it has to do with our personal frequency, our personal vibration. Just like we exude energy, so do thoughts, so do ideas, so do memories, so does information. And sometimes what we call an aha moment is nothing other than just aligning with the energy of that information. It's all inside of us. But we can't understand it or really even relate to it until we are similar in vibration to the vibration of that thought or that belief. And so as we raise our frequency, then we can align with higher frequency information and memories. And these ET contacts are high frequency memories. So just by increasing your frequency, and I made a series of 3 videos on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev, about how to raise your frequency. And then at the end of each one, I created a guided meditation with my voice and high vibe music to help you connect to ETs, dead people, your spirit guides, all of that. The people who've been doing these videos are reporting fantastic experiences. So if anyone's interested in exploring that, just go, please, and check out these videos. They're all free. And
I will definitely be checking them out. And I'll for anybody who's watching this on YouTube, I'll link to those in the description.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that's everything I wanted to say. I can't remember.
That's okay. I did want to hear, do you, because I was mentioning that I have not heard an abduction case where there was animals on the ship. You said you have one.
Yes. So this happened in 2019, where I had an experience. It's a conscious experience where I found myself I found myself in a building in a city, but like in another world on another planet. And it was all glass and all windows. And so was the roof. And when I looked up the glass roof, a UFO or a spaceship had just landed on it. And I had my phone and I'm like trying to take pictures of everything, but of course nothing's working.
Right.
I've done this many times with my experiences. For some reason, I have my phone and I try and take pictures, but nothing happens. So the next thing I know, and I have a video about this experience with my drawings and everything on my YouTube channel. Next thing I know, this small white entity walks into the room, very small like this, glowing like a light bulb. And with it is this dog-like creature on all fours, white. Next thing I know, this dog is on a sterile table in front of me. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing with this dog? And the dog's skin was so thin, see veins through it. So shortly after that, I'm listening to, Chris Bledsoe. He lives just a couple hours from me. We know each other. And I'm listening to his experience. and we saw the same beings. He also saw that small white glowy light bulb being. His son, I don't know if Chris saw it, but his son saw the dog being, and they also saw the light blue beings, and I saw all three of them too.
Mm,
And what I was told was this small dog-like being is the immature version of this tall blue light being. It's like the baby
mm,
version of it, then grows into this mid-sized light bulb-like version, and then becomes the tall blue, beautiful ET. And then I watched this show where Chris was put under hypnosis, which is a horrible thing. It was a horrible thing. I don't suggest that experiencers are not under hip. Well, I take that back. Some experiences do well under hypnosis and some don't. So you have to be very careful.
mhm,
But anyway, what came out with his was he's talking about these four-legged beings, and he's saying that these four-legged beings are like the juvenile versions of these
mm.
ETs. I was like, oh my gosh, there's validation. Yeah. Now I don't know how many people have seen that
Yeah,
four, because it was running when they were in the car when they were trying to get away. That being was like running after them.
interesting. But it makes sense because so much, if you look at Earth as a representation of the diversity of life that would exist in the universe or the multiverse, depending on which way you look at it. Um, and you look at the the variety of progressions from I'll keep it simple, from baby to adolescent to adult. Um, for the most part, mammals are unique in that what they look like as a baby is pretty much what they're going to look like as an adult. But insects, amphibians, reptiles, almost every other species out there has something that looks nothing like what it would look like as an adult. I mean, you take a caterpillar, for example. If you showed somebody who never knew what a butterfly was, but showed them a caterpillar and a butterfly and said, how are these things related? They couldn't pick it out. So the bottom line is it makes sense that there would be life elsewhere in the cosmos that doesn't follow the mammal idea of infant, adolescent, adult maturity scheme. So I think that makes I have not ever seen the four-legged entity as a infant, let's say, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I would imagine that there are probably a lot more that represents their developmental stages than
Yes.
the mammal aspect.
Yeah.
The
That's a
probably the
very
sh-
good point.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's a very good point. The way you put it is really good. That's an excellent way to describe it.
The quote unquote strangest being that I have ever witnessed um, had no head, but had two like eyes just kind of into the torso, and it had wings and just kind of clawed feet, and that's it. It had no mouth, it had no nose, it just had two kind of eyes into the torso, wing, and it was very leathery in its skin texture. Um, so that
How
was
did it feel to you?
interesting.
How
Sorry.
did it feel to you?
Um, I think that, so I'll answer your question, but I'll answer it this way and say that I have been on a journey for the last 45 years of my life to overcome my fear of extraterrestrials. And so, had I experienced that sight prior to 3 years ago, I would have been scared. But this time, I was intrigued. And I wanted to understand more about it. And I wanted to understand how how it for lack of a better term, lived its life. What were its unique experiences that we as humans would never understand? It's, you talk about the things that experiencers have that affects them, and one of those things, like you said, is an awareness, or like a spiritual connection. And one of the things that I have found is that since having my dream, or my repressed memory, and starting this journey, although I am still startled, let's say, sometimes by certain animals on Earth, I find myself wanting to understand how they experience life more than how they startle or scare me. I've never been a fan of spiders, but since I had my awakening, let's call it, I don't kill spiders because I understand that they have a purpose here. And so um, their purpose is not to die because I'm scared of them. It's
Right.
right. They have their own purpose here. And so it's a want to understand the purpose of every living thing on the planet or in the cosmos, and how those experiences translate and influence their over consciousness, if you will, their higher self, in how I, as a human, might be able to glean some information from those experiences to help me in my interaction in this experience.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. And for that reason, many experiencers do become vegetarians because they just have an increased empathy. They realize, why do I have to kill that cow just to eat its flesh? What's that
Yeah,
about? So
the thing that I struggle with more than anything, though, is that all life is that way. And so it's, if you think about the tree, the corn, the tomato, the lettuce, it's all life. And so where do you draw the line between animal life versus plant life versus beans and legumes and everything else? And so what I came down on is that this machine body is of the earth, and the things that this machine body has to consume to survive is also of the earth. And so therefore it would be a breach of the agreement between the machine body and the earth to deviate from the expectations that the machine body has with the earth and the items that it consumes. Now, that being said, I do try to eat really clean. I'm not always successful about it, but I do try to eat clean so that I'm not taking in a lot of processed junk that somebody created in a lab and pumped full of all kinds of things into products. But I really struggled with, I tried to become vegetarian for a long time, but somebody asked the question, and it's a valid question: when do you draw the line between meat is murder, but lettuce is not, if it's all life?
yeah, so what it comes down to are various types of consciousnesses. There's a variety of different types of consciousnesses. Suffering. Do we have any right to
Right.
inflict suffering on another being? And does the plant actually feel? Does it suffer when you cut it?
Mm.
The same way that the cow suffers when you cut it? No, no. There is a difference.
Yeah.
Uh, and it also has to do with intent. We just love to kill.
Yeah.
Americans love to kill.
Well, we think about, though, a lot of the Aboriginal tribes and Native American tribes, they had a relationship with their food that we no longer have, right? Because most people can't tell you where the steak in the grocery store came from. Um, even my kids, I have farmers in my family, and so we've tried to do a good job of educating how far food gets from the farm to the table. But for a lot of people, they don't have their relationship with the food that they partake. And so even if you are eating a cow, but it is sourced in a more ethical way, or there's a relationship. I years ago, my wife and I bought a half of a cow from a farmer. So it was the cow that they had, went out, met the cow, touched the cow. I'm not afraid of farm animals. Again, farmers in the family. So it's a difference because I felt the connection between me and the food that I was going to eat. We had a relationship, a rapport, and just like I will one day become food for the next thing that my body goes into the ground or whatever the case may be, I become food
Yeah,
for the
but you're
next
not
thing.
going to be murdered. You're going to die naturally, and then the worms are going to eat you. So there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that perspective, and I'm not saying my idea is right one way or the other. This is just how I came down on it because it's hard to eat as a vegetarian with a family who does not want to eat as a vegetarian.
Yes, it is.
So, and so, although I can try to limit the amount of meat that
Yeah,
I intake,
that's
I
good.
can't do so for my family. And so,
Yeah.
I kind of had to make amends, so to speak, with how it worked for me and how it related to me. And
Of course.
for other
Yeah.
people, that in
Yeah,
if
I
you
don't judge people who eat meat. I used to eat meat. I don't anymore. I used to. And if someone can eat a steak right in front of me and I'm not going to say anything to
right,
them, personal choice. And I'm not going to force my choice not to kill animals to eat them
right,
on other people. That is just my choice. But anyway, going back to ET contact, we are being told this by the ETs.
right,
Why are we being told this?
yeah,
Chris Bledsoe was told it too, because Chris Bledsoe, there's one thing that I like about when he tells his story is that he used to be a hunter, but the ETs told him, what are you doing? Like, why are you killing them? They're very important. They're just as important to
mhm,
this planet as you are. And you're messing up like the um, the perfect connection that we all have
mhm,
between each other. You're messing that up by killing. You're like messing up the balance.
mhm.
And so what we're experiencing now is just a complete shakeup of our balance. This is what we get.
Yeah. I
We are
mean,
so
sorry. Go ahead.
no, that was it. Yeah, we're just
Yeah,
imbalanced
no, I completely agree that that the Earth is out of balance, for sure.
because of
And
us.
we humans are a big proponent, or not proponent, but a component of that balance that we
Yeah,
have
and I like to
pursued.
say that we're the troublemakers in our galaxy. We really are the
Mhm.
troublemakers. That's why we're being visited, because we're not just causing trouble for ourselves and for our planet, but just like you radiate energy, our planet radiates energy, and that energy is going out through the galaxy.
Mhm.
It affects all the other entities and beings and planets and star systems. We all affect each other.
Well, and that's only in the three-dimensional, right? So there's also the overlapping that occurs between dimensions that we and the Earth inhabit. So that's why I think that ETs and UFOs, we saw a spike in their visitations after we started detonated atomic weapons. Just because it was not just an energy release in the 3D; it was energy release across multiple dimensions. We were upsetting the apple cart all over the place, and so
Yes.
that's why there was an interest. Not because they're worried that we're going to destroy ourselves. I mean, I think they do have some compassion that they would prefer us not to destroy ourselves, but it's more so what else are we destroying in our, you know, arrogant practices where we assume that we are the most elevated, evolved life on the planet. So,
Which is, if that's true, then that's sad.
so anyways, I want to be cognizant of time. I know we've been going for about an hour, and I really appreciate it. I want to make sure that I'm not making use of all of your time. Um, so you have a website. It's planetsev.com. You've mentioned your YouTube channel. Like I said, I'll link to that in the description. Is there anything in appearances that are upcoming, or anything that you would like people to know about? Here's, if you want to take an opportunity to plug any of those things, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I call it planetsev.com for a couple of reasons. One reason is because I actually have a planet in a star system named after me in the Star Wars galactic system. There's a planet Sev Tok and a star system Sev Tok.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to have a friend who was a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars.
Mm.
And he said to me, Sev Tok, I like your name. A planet after you. And I thought he was kidding, but the story came out, and I'm in Wikipedia.
Wow.
And so, yeah, he's like, I will live eternally through my friend Tom Bowling, who was the one that wrote the story. So my website, planetsev.com, my email, sev@planetsev.com, my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all of that. A couple of weeks ago, an ABC TV program came to my house, and they spent all day at my house interviewing me and videoing. And that's supposed to come out in the middle of this month. I can't say what the show is yet.
Okay.
My appearance on Beyond Belief with George Norrie on Gaia TV, that's out and up. And if you don't have a subscription to Gaia TV, you can get a free one for 1 week. And so you can watch the episode that I'm on, Beyond Belief with George Norrie, and lots of other shows. Gaia has a lot going on. I also have a couple of conferences coming up. I'll be at the MUFON International Symposium, and maybe a couple others that haven't been confirmed yet. And I'm just really easy to find.
Yeah.
Oh, did I mention my book?
Oh, no, you didn't. You didn't.
Okay, that's on Amazon. You have the right to talk to aliens. Yeah.
Okay. Very, you've got a lot going on. But it's been an absolute delight to talk to you. I hope I didn't occupy the conversation too much.
No, I loved it. I loved your perspective. It was really good talking to you, because you really do understand some the deeper aspects of ET contact. I'd just like to say, if anybody would like to have a private ET contact consultation with me, please contact me through my website or on my email, and we can schedule that.
Yeah.
Or a soul quiz session too.
And I'll actually probably be scheduling one myself.
Thank
So
you.
All right. Well, thank you all again for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and month, and then we will talk again soon. Thank you.